Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Julie Hilsman, and I'm with the University of West Georgia. I am here to present my project over the effects of differentiated instruction in the classroom. I created this workshop that could be used for a staff development meeting, a faculty meeting, or a professional learning opportunity. Typically, this would last anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, but today I'm going to give you about a 15 to 20 minute snippet of what this actually would look like if I were to be presenting it in a little more condensed version. So first we're going to talk about the outline. This is exactly what we're going to be talking about throughout this workshop. We have the introduction, the purpose, the population, the instrument, the literature review, the methodology, the data analysis, results, limitations and conclusion, and activities and resources. So introduction. So what is differentiated instruction compared to lecture-based learning? Differentiated instruction is a new type of learning that's kind of come about over the past 5 years. We focus a lot of our attention on math and reading, but we're starting to branch out and use what we know about differentiated instruction for the other subjects such as science and social studies. Some of the things you might do in a differentiated classroom would be small group learning, where the teacher is the facilitator and she meets with a small group that is based on their needs, and she will provide remediation, or she might challenge the group of students based on their level. And other students will be grouped together and be completing activities that are also tiered high, medium, low, or based on interest to assess their learning, what we're learning in class, and to make learning a little bit more fun. Lecture-based learning is going to be kind of like what they call the old-fashioned learning, and that's going to be through like textbooks, worksheets, whole group instruction, just I guess not as fun as differentiated instruction. And as we go on, we're trying to do more differentiated instruction in our classroom so we can meet the needs of our learners. Why did teachers start implementing differentiated instruction into their daily instructional routine? Again, this is because as time goes on, we're trying to keep students with special education needs in the regular classroom setting. So by doing that, we've got to differentiate for them so that we can meet their needs. So otherwise they're going to drown. So as teachers, we've been focusing on math and reading to meet the needs of those special education students, as well as challenging our high achieving learners. What is the big hype about? Well, we've seen positive effects from this. So the more and more positive effects come about, we're trying to keep it going and expand it in other subjects so that our students' needs are being met every single day in the classroom. Okay, so the purpose of the study. Does differentiated instruction have a positive impact on student learning in a 5th grade mathematics classroom compared to a lecture-based mathematics classroom? Okay, the population and setting. This was done right here in a public elementary school here at Teasley Elementary in Cobb County. We're located in Smyrna, right outside the city. It was between 2 5th grade classes. Fortunately, up here in 5th grade, we have small classroom settings. So that's great. It gives us a chance to really hone in on those students and what they need. It was equal between 20 and 20. The differentiated class was actually my class, and the lecture-based class was another 5th grade class here at Teasley. It was in a regular education setting with students of mixed academic ability, so high, medium, low. Some students had IEPs, some students were gifted. We call that target here. We had some students on RTI. We have some students with speech needs. So really just a mixed bag of students. Both classes were studies of similar ethnicities, gender, and equal in class size. Again, 20 and 20 students in each class. In my class, I happen to have equal gender. 10 male, 10 female, which was great. And then we had students of all different kinds of ethnicities. African American, white, students that were mixed, some students that were of Indian ethnicity, we have Asian students. So really just a mixed group of students. The classes were picked at random and all students were willing to participate. Okay, so Also, we have the instrument now broken up into the experimental group and the control group. The experimental group is going to be the differentiated class, and the control group is going to be the lecture-based class. Here you're going to see some stuff is in italics while others is not. The stuff that's in italics, or the bullets that are in italics, are the points that are different about each class. And then the bullet points that are not italicized are points that are the same. So over here in the experimental group, we have the workshop model was used. That means we have an opener, we have a mini lesson, then the students break out into small group learning or collaborative learning, and center time, I guess, is what a lot of people refer that to, and then we have a closing. Lots of small group instruction, a variety of stations or centers and methods of learning, inquiry-based learning, lots of hands-on, lots of manipulatives, lots of critical thinking. Okay, and then over here in the control group, we had a lot of whole group instruction where it was very teacher-led, not student-led. Worksheets and discussions were kind of what took place in that class. The things that were the same were that they were both a 6-week study. They were both took place in a mathematics classroom. They both used an attitude survey at the beginning and the end of the survey, or of the 6-week study. And then a checklist was also used once a week throughout the 6 weeks. So the teacher was the observer, and she used a specific checklist to see if certain things were evident or not evident in the classroom. So I wanted to give you what these actual instruments look like. You probably will have a hard time seeing this from your video, but I'm going to post this PowerPoint onto attached to the video. So if you would like to look at specifically what these we're asking, then you may do that, but here they are. So above we have the checklist, and it was used once a week during the 6-week study by both teachers. She just went through a list of questions and decided if it was evident or not evident in the classroom. It took literally just a few minutes. This is the attitudinal survey. There were 6 questions. 2 of them were multiple choice, while the others were open-ended. Very straightforward for both classes. And this was also given at the beginning and the end of the 6-week study. Literature review. When reading through all of the literature and things that I'm reading when gathering all my information for this study, I saw a lot of things over these same topics. So under my literature review, I broke down into these topics, and then I kind of summarized each topic. So the topics were evaluation instruments, professional growth, effects on learning, gifted students, and motivation. Evaluation instruments. What we learned that is that observation, checklists, surveys, and interviews should be used as checkpoints and data purposes in making the classroom a more effective learning environment. So what that means is that we should be using checklists and interviews and observation as more of a data point, and we should always be using data to drive our instruction. Professional growth. Attending valuable staff development sessions about the differentiated instruction will have a positive impact on teachers and will make them lifelong learners. As teachers, we should always be striving to be lifelong learners, so we should be attending staff development sessions that are important, and that they will have a hand in what's best for us in our classroom. So always being lifelong learners. Positive effects on learning. In grade levels across the board, when differentiated instruction is present in the classroom, positive results are present. I kept seeing that differentiated instruction does have a positive effect on learning. So it gave me hope that it would have a positive effect on learning in my classroom. Gifted students. This interested me a lot because I am certified in gifted. So I do a lot of differentiated instruction for my gifted students. And what we concluded there was that assigning critical and analytical thinking questions and activities challenge gifted students in a positive way. So tiered lessons using high, medium, low there. Finally, motivation. When students are able to choose their activities and assignments, they are more engaged and motivated to complete the work and get good grades. The students have to be motivated in order to get good grades. It's a simple point, and I think we all kind of know that, so it's really important that we're always motivating our students. Methodology. This was a quantitative quasi-experimental design. It was a 6-week study in both 5th grade classrooms, lecture-based and differentiated instruction classes. We had the attitudinal study, which was mentioned before, taken at the beginning and the end of the study. We had a checklist that we used as observation once a week. And the results of the survey, checklist, and student grades were analyzed to determine the results to see if they were effective or not effective. Data analysis. Surveys, checklists, and student grades were analyzed to determine the results, again, through pre-test and post-test. Ordinal data was taken from the surveys. The type of analysis was a Wilcoxon signed ranks to compare the data. And the type of sampling was a stratified sampling. Results. So here's where the good stuff goes. How did this play out? How well did the differentiated have an impact on the students compared to the lecture-based classroom? Let's find out. The results have demonstrated that differentiation does have a positive effect on student learning. Results from the attitudinal study showed that students in the differentiated class had a 15% raise in eagerness to learn. So in that survey, it had a 15% increase from the beginning to the end of differentiated being implemented into the classroom. The differentiated class also showed a 7% increase in their overall grades. The class average went from a 77% at the beginning of the study to an 84% at the end of the study. So in just 6 weeks, it increased that much. The survey results from the lecture-based class had a 2% decrease in eagerness to learn. The lecture-based class showed a class average that went from 78% at the end of the 6 weeks compared to the 81% at the start. So unfortunately, in the lecture-based class, we had a decrease in data there. Based on the observation checklist, the differentiated classroom consistently showed that students were engaged in learning. Every time students were observed, they received at least 3 out of 5 check marks. Students were consistently on task and behavior issues were minimal. That's always a plus. We always want to keep our kids under control, especially at the 5th grade level. And using the observation checklist, we had very little behavior issues. Based on the checklist, students in the lecture-based classroom showed inconsistent observation and interest of the subject. Students were often off task, and some even refused to complete their assignments. Many students needed tutors, and grades dropped at the end of the semester, which we saw in the results earlier. These results are a true indicator that differentiated instruction does have a positive impact on student learning, both attitudinally and academically. So again, these 2 charts are going to be hard for you to see from the video, but if you'd like to pull them up and look at them, I did include these in my paper as well. It's just 2 different figures of the comparisons for the big pre and post. We have the differentiated survey and checklist here, and the lecture-based classroom survey and checklist here, and then we have the class averages here. So you'll see that consistently in the differentiated class, we have increases, and in the lecture-based, unfortunately, we have some decreases. Limitations and conclusions. For further research study, the pre and post on a particular mathematics standard could be assessed to determine the effects of differentiation to obtain results that are more specifically academic. So instead of using these attitudinal studies and checklists, we could actually focus on a standard to measure next time if maybe. The activities represented in the differentiated classroom may have not been of interest to all of the students. The checklist results were subjective. A lot of people would argue with that because only one teacher is observing, and a lot of times people say that those results can be subjective. That's just opinion. Some of the activities may have been appropriate for the students based on interest or grade level. These limitations will be taken into consideration for future reference, and steps will be altered for the next research. As teachers, we should always be reflective, and we should always be looking back on what we did wrong or what didn't work so well the time before. So looking back on this, I need to look at, what might not have worked so well compared to next time. So I'll take those things into consideration. When students are motivated through assignments that interest them, they will make better grades, just as students did in the differentiated class. So that was kind of my conclusion that I drew from this. As a little added bonus, I wanted to give you some of the activities and resources that I use in the differentiated class. Hopefully you could use some of these in your class to help differentiate your students. Choice boards and menus are always a great thing. When students are able to pick their activities that interest them, then a lot of times they're going to be more motivated to complete it. So I give a lot of those types of assignments even for homework. Games created from Teachers Pay Teachers. Teachers Pay Teachers is such a great resource because it's, you can just click free, you can click the grade level, and a lot of times I just type in the standard and there's games that are already pre-made for you that teachers place on there. And if they're not free, a lot of times they're super cheap, like $1 or $2, and who doesn't want to help out their teachers? Interactive activities such as QR scanning, task cards, building figures with manipulatives. Again, inquiry-based learning where they can touch things, they can see things for themselves, or working with others. That's really, really important at this level. Interactive notebooks. Kids are going to have to take notes. I love interactive notebooks because with these they're able to manipulate the sources. So they, like flashcards, they can pull it out, flip books. And a lot of times when they're studying, my kids have told me, Miss Hilson, this is a great resource. I had fun studying last night. We always want to make learning fun. Collaborative learning where they're working in groups, such as word problems or tasks. Working in those small groups to help each other out at their level. High students paired together, low students paired together, medium students paired together to work out these word problems. Tickets out the door are a great thing that I always like to use as a summarizer and as a quick assessment to see if they understand what they were learning that day. So just a quick, even on a sticky note, give them a problem to do, and it's really great for flexible grouping to move forward. Two things, I'm not going to click on them due to time, but two things I love to use in my classroom are Front Row. It's a website that's free, and you can enter in your kids' names, and it gives you reports every week where they can work through certain modules at their level. So they have to pass certain modules to go on to the next, and this is great for kids to work at their own levels. So I use that a lot in the classroom and for homework. And the other one is First in Math. This is a paid program, but my school uses it, and it has games, and the kids compete against each other. So maybe if that's something that you would like to look into and try to get a grant for or talk to your administration about it, then that would be something that you could use as well in your classroom. At this time, I would ask for questions or comments. So if anyone have any questions or comments, they could ask me at this time. But if there weren't, then I just want to say thank you so much for listening to my presentation today. I really hope that you took something away from my research and that you will continue to implement differentiated instruction in your classroom. Thank you so much.